Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Can Be Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Castle. My passion is to empower and inspire you to be all that you want to be. Whatever it is, big or small, you can be it. Today, I'll be talking with a friend of mine, Terri Malek. She and I have not seen each other in person for probably 15 years, but I feel like meeting up with her today is like meeting up with an old friend. We've stayed connected virtually and through a mutual friend for many years. Now, Terri and her husband are full-time travelers and right now are living outside 24/7. She'll explain a little bit about that in the episode. Terri is a magical awakening master teacher, shamanic Reiki master and healer, master energy therapist and educator, a conscious creator coach, transformational consultant and speaker, author of several books, and a mobile entrepreneurial. Very, very fascinating lady. And I'm going to have her back on the show again because I know that this episode is going to be full of wisdom. Welcome to today's episode. Let's get started. Terri, the fact that you're in town is incredible. I can't believe I reached out to you last week or you reached out to me, however that sequence of events happened. And you said, well, I'm going to be in town.
I'm so excited to be here and to connect with you in person.
I was thinking about that. You and I met for the first time in person. I don't know if you remember this, but there was the fundraiser we were doing for the Railroad Museum when a group of us citizens band together and did our part to save the museum from being closed.
Oh my goodness. I had forgotten about that.
You totally forgot, didn't you?
I did.
And you and your husband had the bike shop in town, and we were having a bike race and a run, I believe it was, as part of our fundraising event.
That's right. I did the race that year, the 5K.
You did. Y'all managed the race. I didn't know anything about that part, and everybody wanted a race. And I was someone had recommended you to handle that part of it. And that's probably been 15 years ago.
Been a bit, huh? It has been.
So, wow. and I know you guys were also involved with the camp out at the lake during that time. And life has changed a lot for you since then. And life's changed for me a lot since then too.
Gosh, lifetimes ago, that seems like. Yeah.
So you're on the road now.
I am on the road. I am here for a little bit for the holidays to see family and friends and do some work. But for the most part, we just passed our 3-year mark of being on the road. Mostly full time. We just come back and have a little reset time here and there.
I love it. So how do you choose where for you guys listening, when we say on the road, what we mean is she's literally on the road in an RV, just living life, just experiencing.
Yes, my husband, and I am also growing in this business with him, does nature and wildlife photography. And then we have evolved into doing quite a bit of videography as well. And I've joined that business in addition to my own business. And we are just going where it takes us. Yeah.
So does he get assignments or does he get to choose where he wants to go next?
He does. It's all completely independent self-employment, not taking assignments or doing freelance or anything. And right now it's just, we're building it for ourselves, building a YouTube channel and building more and more of his photography portfolio and so forth. So
what's the YouTube channel? How do we find you?
It's called,
I didn't know this part.
Okay. It's called Living Inspired Outdoors.
Mm.
And we have just a few chapters up. Each expedition, each time we go out, it'll be a new expedition name. And the recent one was called Expedition New Direction.
Mm.
We've shifted direction a lot in life. And we've gone from living full-time in an RV to literally living in what's called an overlanding rig. So everything's contained within our vehicle now.
So that means you can go anywhere.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have a friend who will be listening to this at some point. And she is in the mortgage business, but when she feels the need, she will just schedule time and get in her RV. And it's self-contained too. So she can go to some incredible places. I mean, places you just normally couldn't go to.
Yes. Yes.
And is that why y'all did it? So that you
Yes.
aren't limited?
It is. We found ourselves parking our 27-foot RV,
Mm-hmm.
finding a place as much off grid. We live off grid. We're fully sustained, solar power, all of that. And we found ourselves parking it and then sometimes driving an 8-hour day just to go explore and do the photography and then coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere we went, we kept seeing these rooftop tents and these pop-up campers and, various ways of minimizing and going smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so the original plan was to probably do both.
Mm-hmm.
And it just evolved this way. And we did make it to some really remote places that you're just not going to find on the paved, beaten path. So it was really exciting.
So how many feet are you guys living in?
we are living.
I'm sitting here. I just downsized by half the square footage.
Sure.
And you're probably looking at this going, the space.
It's really, I'm actually really glad you asked that question because my home is Mother Nature. And it literally evolved to where we live outside 24/7. And that was a big transition and one that I had to really think about and prepare for as we sold the RV because it was completely comfortable, all the amenities. It was a brand new vehicle, brand new RV when we bought it and had all the beautiful leather furniture and all the bells and whistles. And we live out of a full-size Dodge Ram vehicle that we have modified into called an overlanding rig. It's off-road capable, high clearance. And we were going to do what's called a pop-up camper in the back. That was a 16-month wait with the way accessibility has been. And so we were ready to go. So we stuck a rooftop tent on that, got a rack, stuck a tent on there, and that's our home.
That is so interesting. So what
and
do
we
you
have
do
a separate bathroom tent.
That's what I was
for those asking.
Yeah, that's what I was. I mean, what do you do for restroom facilities?
Yeah, we have a portable. We've always composted so that we don't have to deal with tanks and all of that. For us, it's more green and eco-friendly, but it's also actually a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
I did not want to travel with that in my home. So we have a little pop-up bathroom tent with a solar shower, and we have a portable restroom, and it's compostable, and it's actually really easy.
I sit there and I think how interesting. That would be so cool. But then at this point in my life, I sit there and go, how could I go from where I am and what I'm doing today to where you are if I were serious about that? That's not a decision that you just go, yeah, I'm going to live off the grid wherever I want, everywhere and anywhere at any time. That didn't happen overnight.
No.
What was that?
I actually read a post from 2017. It's not even a post that I put up publicly. I just shared it with a few friends, but I read a writing in December of 2017 that I did about how I was really ready for this and ready to have it realized. We were remodeling our home, getting it ready to sell. And it seemed like it was going to be an eternity. And flash forward less than 2 years later, we were doing it. So we made that a reality. We did a tremendous amount of research. I shifted my business into a more online based business as opposed to in person. And when I'm here, I do still work in person. And I'm very honored and grateful to have had a facility each time I'm here just manifest. I kept my Sticks and Bricks Holistic Healing Center open for almost a year after, maybe not quite that long, and eventually ended up closing that and just doing it all online. I travel to destinations for work and so forth, but it was a process. And I can honestly say it still is in the process. It's constantly evolving and fleshing out because, you know, new factors come in all the time that we have to consider. Like right now, when we had an RV, we had a wonderful cell phone booster that helped me have internet almost anywhere. And now I don't have that. You know, you can't really install that as well on a truck. So we're going to be looking at Starlink satellite now that that's out. Just finding ways to continue to improve upon it. But it's quite an evolution, and it's definitely still in the infancy stages. But yet in other ways, it feels like it's something we've done for a very long time. It just feels natural. So
whose idea was it? Did you have to convince him or him convince you, or how did that?
That's a question we get a lot. And actually it was so serendipitous. It was literally a joint decision that we spoke simultaneously.
Oh, how cool.
We were on a road trip and I had just finished some training at Omega Institute in New York, where I used to go and do a lot of my trainings. And I knew I was to go to this event. It wasn't even a training. It was more like a retreat. And I knew I was to go to this event. And I kept hearing that when I left there, I would have clarity of our future. We knew it was time for a big shift and change. And we're driving down the road and 3 RVs pass us, which is weird because usually you're passing the RVs because they go so slow. So I knew that was a sign. RVs are passing us and we're going the speed limit.
You know, but how many people would have not picked up on that?
Right.
Right.
Thought, why are RVs passing us, Tim? Are we going too slow? And he said, no. Well, it was a rainstorm. I mean, a really bad rainstorm. And they're passing us. They're not driving what I would consider the safest with an RV. And we looked at each other and he said, RV. And I said, I know. Yes. And it just, the whole rest of the trip home, we were in Indiana in this torrential downpour rain. We had to pull over and we're just over there. I've got my notebook out and we're making plans. By the time we got home, we put it into action. It was that fast. And kind of like a flashback. Somebody sent me an excerpt from my book that I had published a year and a half before.
Go ahead and tell everybody the name of your book.
Okay. Thank you for asking. It's called My Path to Omega. It was published in 2016, I believe. Yes, 2016. And it's still out there on Amazon. And I am in the process of writing a few other books. I'm going to be moving into doing more ebooks. Probably paper form too, but I'm going to start with ebooks and try to get a lot more.
Because you can get them out there fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many books that have fleshed out that are just waiting to be typed up and come out.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing on the road. I do quite a bit of writing but they sent me an excerpt from my book and I talked about how I think I was 7. I had a dream. No, this was when I was 10 and went on a trip. My first trip there was 7. Let me back up. I don't know that I talked about that in the book, but I visited an aunt and uncle, a great aunt and uncle that had an Airstream. And I remember saying, I will have one of those one day. And then I went back and read the part in the book that actually talked about, I always dreamed of that. And I didn't even remember that. I didn't even have any recall that had been a dream of mine. So it's neat how it all ties together.
You know, whenever you say that, the audience, most everyone knows I've got grandchildren in a variety of ages. And I think that it's so important that we pause and listen to our littles. Because there's just so much wisdom in their innocence. And just the things, if we just journaled more of their dreams and the things that they say,
Yes.
they can go back to those and see the wisdom in their youth before they were judged, or they judged themselves, or just limited themselves by experiences. There's just so much truth in.
Absolutely. I was talking to a dear friend via messenger this morning who they are living on the road right now with their children. They're in transition and figuring out what their future is going to look like and where they're going to buy land and so forth. And I was talking to her about the very, very rich experiences she's giving her children because she thought outside the box. She moved outside of the box of the traditional, and she watches them come alive every day.
Yeah, she's able
It's
to be
so-
present with them because she didn't have the
Yes.
distractions of everything else at the moment.
Absolutely. It's absolutely beautiful to witness. And I told her that always kind of gets me, because I meet people on the road and I'll think, oh, the kids aren't in school, they must be homeschooled. And then I start learning, and I have been learning this for several years, and I know families that do this. The education is everyday life, and they still do a curriculum. They still do a homeschool curriculum, and then they're also teaching them everyday life. And it's really interesting to watch, just to watch them listen to the children. I like what you said. Listen to the littles, listen to them. That's a whole nother beautiful conversation within itself, for sure. That's an opportunity. And it is interesting. When I wrote my book, I'm basically in what people would just call like a channeling energy. I mean, anything I write, anything I speak, I've just gotten to where I allow it to move through me. I don't plan it or think about it anymore like I used to. It does better if I let it flow. So when you do go back and you think of those dreams you've had and those passions, and you let them move through you, it's really interesting to see how they come out, and how they may have been suppressed. And so I like that you brought that up, that there's a lot of wisdom in there. You know, I wanted to be a teacher. Well, I thought that meant I had to be a school teacher because that's what my family did. And I tried that half a day, and I said, I will never, ever do this again.
Yeah, that's not how I meant. I wanted to teach.
Yes. But then I became,
You are,
a master energy teacher and therapist and so forth. But point being is, it doesn't always look like the traditional by any means.
No, it doesn't.
We create our, based off our passions and our desires. Yeah.
If we allow ourselves to.
Yes,
We
if we
create.
allow. Yes.
Speaking of a little, here comes one right now. We're on camera and you're being recorded.
Hello.
Where is my phone dip?
Your what?
My phone dip.
Oh, it's right in there. It's right by the sink.
That's beautiful.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Love you.
awesome.
Allison may edit that out. She may leave that in.
That's sweet.
Anyway, I want to have you back because there's just so much that we could talk about. But
I would love that.
yes, but I love your story, and I love it's interesting to me that you and I haven't seen each other in person, I think, in 15 years.
It's been a long time.
I remember the last conversation that you and I had by phone, I believe, was when you and I scheduled for reading, and that's been 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It's
I
been a
believe you
while.
mentioned, that's when you mentioned Denison on your, on your radar, if not already having, I'm not sure how far into that process you were, but yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to even look at the but it's been quite a journey since then for both of us. And there's so much we could talk about. But just really wrapping it up, I think that it's just so important that people understand that wherever they are in life right now is not where they have to be forever. Like it just, if you aren't where you want to be, or you're not doing what you want to do, or you're not being who you want to be, it's okay. Use those experiences as just part of the journey, but decide what it is that you do want. Or if you're not even sure, just like when you went to New York, you knew that there were some answers in going on that trip, but you didn't know what the answers were going to be.
Absolutely.
But you listened to your you listened to your heart and your gut, and you went.
Yes.
Rather than judge what, whatever excuses that your mind would allow you to have. And and just follow through with those little hints, those little nudges.
Absolutely. And I wrote this morning, I'll just share real brief. I wrote this morning, and then basically to use an analogy about your inner landscape and how home is within. And so if you look at yourself and your inner landscape, if you will, like you would your home, especially someone who takes a lot of pride in their home and they really want an inviting, comforting, peaceful home. When something doesn't feel right in your home, you might air it out. You might change your color scheme. You might get a whole new, you might rearrange, it may be as simple as fluffing up the pillows and lighting a candle, but you really are intentional with it. And so if you think of yourself and your inner landscape as home, I mean, this is coming home as coming back to you, who you are authentically. And I just thought it was really neat that the home analogy came up today. So I wanted to
I love
share
that visual. That is a great way to really just close your eyes and really think about your inner landscape and what about it you would like to redecorate.
Yeah.
Change out some colors, change out whatever it is that you're looking for. Maybe it's change out to be more comfortable.
Yeah. It can be so simple.
So simple.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of the Canby podcast. We will have Terri back. She's in town for a couple of months, but even if you're on the road, I could be one of your test cases whenever you get your Starlink going.
Okay, wonderful.
Out in a remote location. You can tell us where you're at and describe it for another episode. But I'm honored you took the time to come by and see me in my little cottage downtown Denison with my little garden.
I love it, and I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For having me here.
Stay tuned for the next episode of the Canby podcast. If this is an episode that you've got a friend, you've got someone you work with, a family member that this would be encouraging for them too, please share it. And if you have not already subscribed, please do so and leave a review. We'll see you on the next episode.